Even they told me that the Penang ferry, due to the negligence of the ferry terminal people and government, it has gone submerged into the sea. And Penang ferry was a very the people, they had a sentiment attachment to it.
Yeah. These are heritage stuff. You see, it's always a question whether should we keep the heritage or what.
Yeah, sometimes I had traveled into it when I went from Penang to mainland. So,
Dr. Pongchai, could you off your screen sharing, please? Thank you. You can reshare it again when.
Yeah.
Good afternoon from India.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. I think we can start.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rupalim, please.
So, hello and welcome to all the ISAGA members, eminent panel members, and dear participants in the ISAGA 2021 webinar series organized by International Simulation and Gaming Association and Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, India. Today is the 22nd webinar in this series. Topic of today's webinar is Gaming and Simulation, Bridging Research and Teaching for Sustainable Development. And we have with us a very eminent speaker for the webinar, Dr. Pongchai, Dumrongrojwatthana, Department of Biology, Faculty of Science, Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. First of all, I would like to request Vice Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya and Conference Chairperson of ISAGA 2021, Dr. Upinder Dhar, for the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to all the members of the ISAGA fraternity. As Rupali mentioned, this is the 22nd webinar in the series, and it has been a great learning experience, Saturday after Saturday, and happy to see many of our friends regularly. Toshiko is there every Saturday. That's very nice. Even Elizabeth League is also present every Saturday. Dr. Ramesh Sharma, he has already presented one seminar earlier, and many other friends. So I'm very happy that we are meeting every Saturday, every week, and it is gaining the momentum. Now less than 3 months are left for the ISAGA 2021, 6th to 10th of September. So I'm sure that that will also be a great experience. So many of you will be making presentations, and even those who are not joining us, but they will also be coming. Today again, we have a very learned resource person, and I'm sure that learning experience, and we will remember the teachings of our resource person, and will practice or maybe adopt some learnings from this webinar. So not standing longer between the enlightened resource person and all of you. So I welcome him once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So before inviting our speaker for the session, I would like to give their brief introduction to the audience. Dr. Pongchai Dumrongrojwatthana is a lecturer, researcher at the Department of Biology, Faculty of Science, Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. He is an ecologist. His research fields are integrated renewable resource management using gaming and simulation and urban ecology. He has conducted gaming and simulation sessions with diverse group of stakeholders in several renewable resource issues, such as community forest management in northern Thailand, blue swimming crab and bycatch management at Kongkra Bend Bay, eastern Thailand, rain-fed lowland rice landscape and Melaleuca forest management in southern Thailand, agricultural soil management in many areas in Thailand, adaptive water management in Lao PDR, and wetland management in Mekong region. So it's a great pleasure for all of us to have Dr. Pongchai with us. We welcome you, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. Over to you, sir. I request Dr. Pongchai, sir, to please start your session. Sir, your mic is off. Please put on your mic.
Okay, so so it's not work right now.
Yes, sir.
Let me share it again.
Your slide was visible. Yeah, it's coming now. Yeah, it is visible.
Yes, so
Yes.
the bigger one is better. Okay, so let me check.
Go ahead, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you. So thank you very much, the organizing committees, so for inviting me. So it's my pleasure to be here to share my experience with you. Okay, so my topics today is about gaming and simulations. So I try to bridge the research and teachings, okay, for the sustainable development. Okay, so I also attend some previous seminars, okay, and we found a lot of talks, okay, very interesting one. Okay, so what I remember is that like Nicolas Bicu, so he already mentions about natural resource management, gaming and simulations. Or Professor Chris, he already mentions about how to construct or create the games for social impacts. Or even some researchers are talking about how to facilitate the games, how to facilitate the workshops. Okay, so maybe, so some of you may think that those activities using the computer simulation is a little bit difficult for practitioners, okay, or some lecturers, okay, in the school or in the university. So I'm not sure who are the audience today, okay, but my topics today is, so I try to select the simple games, okay, to share with all of you. So this is the core contents of my talk. So I will have like a 4 main parts. So we'll talk about the sustainable development or SD. So I think everyone is already know sustainable development goals. Okay, that is very recent. Okay, that UN try to announce. And then the roles of the universities. Okay, how we fill up the sustainable development goals. And I select 5 case studies to share with you. So as my topic is about the bridging research and teachings, so I try to select a simplified case. And they start from the different point. So some case we start by the research, and some case we start from the teaching activities. Okay, so then I try to share with you to see many possibilities that we can jump into gaming and simulation worlds and create the impact, okay, to our societies. I will end up with the lesson learned and their conclusions and perspectives. Okay, so let me start with this slide. So I'm not sure that you are familiar with this one, but I'm pretty sure that many man and environment course use these slides. So this image, so I really like it. It just represent our evolutions. Okay, and it say that modern humans, they just appear about 2 seconds before midnight, okay, compared to the 24-hour clock. Okay, so we have a lot of biodiversity. But okay, in the video clips, you can see on your screens, start from 1980 something, you see the rapid change of the land use. Okay, forest cover is lost, 1984. See, so this 2 seconds before midnight, so we create a lot of troubles to this world, to this our planet. Okay, from this 2 seconds. So in the middle of the screen, so you can see that we have the biophysical dynamics. Yeah, so as I am the ecologist, this world is evolved very, very long times, okay, like 4.5 billion years ago, right? And then we have creatures on Earth like 3.5 billion years ago. So if the land is evolved, and just 2 seconds before midnight, we have created socio-economic systems. Okay, now say we have a lot of activities. Okay, we are talking about inequities. So we have the poor peoples, we have the rich peoples, and we have the people who have high authorities. But anyway, so we create our own systems. So based on the natural resource. Okay, and the natural system itself, so it has the dynamics. So in our system as well, we have the dynamics. Okay, but we extract the resource from the natural side. So it may create the negative or even positive feedback to our systems. And then from that effect, it might create again the consequence to the natural system. And yes, as you see the small picture, so we can select the left side or the right side. So we can choose. But anyway, so we have a lot of human populations nowadays. So if you have heard about the ecological footprints, right? So we use a lot of resource. Maybe it's over capacities. So now we are talking about the sustainable development. Yeah, as you see, the situation is going worse. So since 1987, okay, really long time ago, so the sustainable development is come into our academic world. Yeah, the development which meet the needs of the present generations, without the compromising the abilities of the future generations to meet their own need. But what happened, since 1987? So it seems that many things is not go well. Okay, so in 2015, 2016, so the UN so recall it again, but it's slightly changed and word into the sustainable development goals. Okay, we have 17 items. We set up the target for 2030, right? Okay, so as I am the ecologist, yeah, I like this picture, so I'm not sure that you have seen this or not. But I like this one because at the base of the development, so we look at the biosphere. So there are 4 items related to this one. Okay, life below waters, life on land, waters, and climate issues. And then based on this natural resource, healthy, so we can improve our society, and then we can improve our economies. So if you see that the natural resource is important, so then we need to conserve it. And also we are in the academic world, and I'm teaching in universities. So at the same time, so I think we have the concept about university social responsibilities. Yeah, this concept is just like CSR, right? Cooperative social responsibilities. So the key concept is just like the university is not have only not just has the role to teach the student or prepare the student to be the good citizen, but we also have the other aspect that we have to complete, like this side, you see in the knowledge or scientific knowledge producing. So it has the big community is that work together, okay, how to support our planet. And then in this coming years, or some universities already implement the sustainable development goal into the mandate. Like in Chulalongkorn University, so we have teams. So we try to collect the work from the members, from our colleagues, okay, and try to fill into the different boxes to answer 17 items. So in some case, we use it for the university ranking as well, right? If I'm not misunderstand, but I'm not involved in that aspect. But anyway, what I want to share with you is that, yeah, we are the instructors, and we are here. Yeah, it's me, it's you, and at least so we have 4 main activities, yes, or 4 main mandates. So first we have teaching. So in my department, so I have to teach around 50 or 60% of the workload. And then we do have the research, and this is the other important work. As we are the higher educations, we do need to service the other scholars through the academic service work. And also we have the student support. So many activities. The university expect us to complete every task. So then we have to teach, we have to do the research, we have to do the academic services, we have to support the students. So how to manage the times? It's really hard work. And okay, so if you look at the teachings, you see we have really high expectations. So I'm pretty sure that everyone familiar with these diagrams about the Bloom taxonomy. So in higher education, so we aim at teaching students to be able to create the new things right? We want them to be on top of this pyramid. And we also have the VUCA, like, environment, right? So we are talking about the 21st century learning skills. We are talking about the skill for jobs for our students. And I think right now they already have 20, 30 skills something. So if you go to the World Economic Forum website, you see the update of these skills. So how we can achieve this? Okay, when we have the teaching as the main activities, okay, and subsequent by the research. Okay, so today I just want to share my experience, okay, to balance, okay, this kind of 4 working pillars, so with all of you. So as I already mentioned to you that we already have a lot of talks, you know, about how to create the games. If I'm not misremembers, we do have some case that talking about micro and macro designs of the games, right? So we have a lot of concepts. So today I just want to share with you the real activities, okay, and then to bridge, okay, the research and teachings. And as my background, I use component modeling. So when I study my PhD, so in Chulalongkorn University and in France, okay, I use this modeling approach. So this modeling, they have 2 main objectives of using. So the first one is to understand the complex systems. And the second one is to support the decision makings. Okay, so you can see from these diagrams, so each stakeholders or each components, they have their own perceptions, and they have their own objectives, to use the resource from the environment. And they want to generate the incomes, and someone want to manage the forest, someone want to cut it. But anyway, so each of them have their own understand, their own objectives. So we need the common tools, okay, to share that perceptions, and to make everyone have the same understanding before changing their practice, okay, to the real world again. So if we can have the tools, you know, to share the representation, so we believe that everyone get the same understanding, they understand each other, then they can modify the system in the better ways. Okay, so I use this approach in my work. So I try to create the common tools for the common representations with the key stakeholders. You let them learn together to understand the systems, the complexities, the uncertainties. And okay, so for today, so I will focus on the natural resource management and ecosystems, so as it is my majors. And here is the iterative and evolving process, okay, described by the scholars or the colleagues in the combat teams. So normally we start by problems identification, which is normal at the modeling or model buildings. Okay, so we start by problems addressed, then we get collect informations, we construct the models, calibrate it, validate it, okay, and then we prove it that, okay, it's already work. So we use it with the stakeholders. Okay, so then we can do back and forth to adjust or reuse it. But anyway, at some certain periods of time, we may have the new requests, or the new questions emerge from the stakeholder. Okay, so we can modify the problems, okay, and collect more information again, and then we modify our conceptual models or our concrete models, okay, and use it again. So it's like this kind of evolving cycle, from the first questions to the second questions to the third questions, okay, until the problem is mitigated or solved. But okay, when we try to bridge, okay, the research and teaching together, okay, so I will use this acronym. So R is for research and T is for teaching. So we need to think about our learning outcome, to our students, because in this loop normally it's focused on the research. And then if we want to use it for teaching our students, okay, I would like to mention here. So we need to think about the learning outcome that we want, okay, to our students. Then we also need to think about activity and times, because if we conduct only the research, so sometimes it's not matched with the teaching periods, or the schedule. Okay, so we have to manage our times, and maybe we need assistant or teaching assistant if you have the big class. And then the last thing, so to coach the student, because when we use the gaming and simulations with the student, most of them usually have no background before. So we have to teach them, or at least discuss bit by bit, how to set up the questions, how to collect the data, how to set the indicators, and then start working on the prototypes. Okay, so this kind of thing is a little bit time consuming, but I think it's better to allocate time to consult with students, to let them ready to create by their own gaming and simulation. Okay, so this is the key process that I would like to share with you. And here is the other representations. So it's just like a road, this step. So the same, we start by the problem identifications. And here we need to decide the learning outcomes. We collect the data and do the system analysis. Okay, we may create the conceptual models at this stage, right? And then we construct the games, the prototypes, test and use it. Okay, and then when it's ready to use, so we use it with the key stakeholders. And here I call it like a version 1.1. And you use it for the second round. And you may get the request from the participants or the stakeholders. Okay, so you may need to re-identify the problems, redesign your outcomes again, and do the same steps. Here, so I may call it the 1.1 version because it just developed from the same root of the models. Okay, so you may have 1.2, 1.3. Okay, so in the previous diagram, it's not show you that we can have the other alternative versions. So in this slide, the purple one, so you can see maybe in some certain periods of times, you may need to totally change your topics. I mean, you cannot develop from your previous versions. So you need to create a new model again. So you go to the other versions, version 2, 2.1, 2.2, some things. Okay, so this is the dynamics process, but it's a kind of iterative and evolving that I want to share with you. And now, just to match it with the real case studies. So I have 4 case studies. So in fact, 5 case studies to share with you. Okay, so the first one is about the research. The first 2 cases is about research to teaching, and the other 2 cases is about teaching to research. Okay, so I have the Sathing Millionaire games. So this one is based on the Millionaire games. The second one is the soil testings. The third one is the green loop game, is about urban ecologies. And the last one, we have a game initiated by the students, but this one is come from the general education course, okay, that I would like to share with you. And here is the quick summary tables, okay, just for you to have beginning ideas. So the first case, so I conducted in the southern part of Thailand, in Songkhla province. The second one, it is in the northeastern part. The third one, it is in the central part. Okay, and the last one, because it is a general education course, so we don't know in decimeters, where do we go? So this case, we can apply in many provinces. So in the field of studies, so in the Sathing area, it is the lagoon, farmland, and coastal sites. It deals with the environmental problems from the land use change. So in the soil testing game, it is about the agricultural areas, and the people do the farming in the area surrounded by the national park. So it's really high constraints. The third one is about ecosystem service in the ecosystems in urban areas. Okay, and for the general education course. So we are talking about general environmental problems and sustainable developments in the rural areas. And here, the last line, I just want you to see that we can have the different starting point. Okay, so the first case that I want to share with you is start by myself as an instructor or researcher. Okay, so this one is just like a normal situation. So you have your own research and you look for some students come and help learn. So we get support by the others, BSc students and PhD students. But the second case here, it is start by the PhD student. Okay, they register, they work with their friends and they get some interesting in the fields, and then they come and consult with me to start working on natural resource management. So the initial point is different. Okay, and then we have the game that initiated by the bachelor students. So BSc is Bachelor of Science. Okay, and okay, I just support them, to fill up. And the last one, they start by the Bachelor of Science student and the other faculties. So it is a general education course, so I teach the faculty of architecture, engineering students, or accounting students. Okay, some of them, they have no backgrounds, okay, on the scientific process. Okay, so this is a different initial point, okay, that I want to share with you. So try to convince you that, okay, it is possible, to do it. Okay, so for the first games, so this is the one in the southern part of Thailand. Okay, so its location is near Songkhla, or Hat Yai. So it is the big city in the south. And this area, we have the lagoon side and Gulf of Thailand. So in the middle, so it has the diverse land use. And in these situations, so it has the rapid land use change, due to the government policies and also the peri-urbanization process, okay, because it's located next to the main cities. So you can see from the maps, okay, diverse land use appear, okay, within 20, 30 years. Okay, the forest cover is degraded. The rain-fed lowland rice mixed with the sugar palms. So this one is a kind of cultural landscape. So I think in India, they have a lot of this kind of system. So if I'm not remember, the Songkhla province, they get some cultures that inherit from the Indian countries, that we have the rain-fed lowland rice and sugar palms. Okay, and then at the end, you can see very recent, we have a lot of oil palm plantations. So this one is promoted by the government. Okay, so a lot of land use change. Okay, so this one just to show you that we have coastal sites, we have in between dens of sugar palms, and on the lagoon side we have the freshwater or brackish water fisheries. And based on this rapid change, you can see the diversity of the land use, and from this diverse land use, so more and more people. So we have a lot of problems. So we have infrastructure improvements. So the young generations, young farmers, they use a lot of motorbikes, so they create a lot of noise. They use more chemical pesticides, herbicides. They just throw it away into the irrigation canals or in the natural areas. Or they have some people try to rear more poultry, and they don't care, they don't concern about the gray or wastewater, they just release it directly to the lagoon. So it's that the problems on wastewater. Okay, so also some periods of the year it may have the water shortage, okay, or the farm rescue burnings. So it's create a lot of smoke. So this kind of thing is create problems, okay, to the local peoples. So then when I get support by the research agency, and so I contact with one master students. So we survey the problems gain more information, okay, and try to start analyze the systems. So who are the actors, and then how they interact together. Okay, normally I use the UML class diagrams, okay, that we can identify the actors, their roles, their actions, and the interaction with the other components. So when we have the first understanding, so we can get more information, okay, to jump into the game design. So in this case, we found that the people still lack the knowledge about the environmental impacts. Okay, so we start design the games, okay, how to fill up that knowledge, okay, and try to use it with the local peoples. So in this area, we deal with 7 villages, around 250 farmers join our activities. Okay, so from this one, we test it with the undergrad student and grad student in our labs. Okay, so we have V1 ready to use, and then we use it in the field workshops. Okay, we invite the undergrad students, okay, to help us to conduct the games. So this image show you very simple. So we just draw it by hand. So it's composed of 16 or 17 boxes. Okay, so the first 3 boxes, the farmers or the players, so they have to grow the crops. Okay, so we integrate the spatial representations into this Millionaire game. So it is Millionaire based, okay, but we try to integrate the spatial representations in this game. So the farmers have the information sheet, so as a record sheet, so they have to make the decisions what kind of crops they want to grow, how many investment they have to pay, and we have this 5 pages, okay, for 5 rounds. So in 1 round of play, it represents 1 round, 1 year in reality. So the aim of the players, they have to make the income to support their household needs. And we place 3 scenarios with them. So the normal years, the droughts, and the flood. So we use the chant cards for them to draw. They just draw that and see, okay, this year we have a lot of rain and its effect to the crop yields. Okay, and the other things that we are mentioned about the knowledge of the people. So we use the chant cards, okay, to play the roles of knowledge sharings and knowledge generations. So we have different types of chant cards. So the first one is about environmental knowledge. So this one, from the interview, we get some information. Okay, we know that people still lack of some aspect. Also, we use the card as the question card. So we invite them to talk, to discuss. If they can answer, they get the money. Just like simple Millionaire games, if they provide the correct answer, they get like a 200 baht. If they cannot answer, but their friend can answer, get just 50%, 100 baht, for example. The other type of the card is about environmental problems. Okay, so here the same, they need to draw the card, but it's a kind of penalty card. It's just like, so just give you the example, like when they draw, they can read the card saying that, oh, some farmers, they just burn, okay, the residues and create a lot of smoke. So the people who located, okay, nearby that farms, so I mean the people who draw the card will get affected, okay, like 3 cells in radius. Or they draw the cards, and then the cards writing that, okay, there are some farmers throw the pesticide or herbicide cans into the rivers, and so they may have the effect to the fisheries activities. And so if the farmers who play the games and they have the fisheries activity nearby the farms, so they get effect that they have to pay some money. Yeah, something like this. This is a card for the environmental effect. So by doing this, they can learn, how the global system work. So, and then their own activities or individual activity may affect the whole system. Okay, so in this game, so I integrate with PNRM or Principle of Natural Resource Management course. So we conduct a field trips, okay, 4-day or 5-day field trips, with the registered students. So we have 12 students in total. So one is graduate student and the other 11 students are undergrad. So before conduct the workshop with the people, so we bring them to see the real situations. So by doing this, they walk around the village. Okay, they learn from the reality. So if you use only the games, they may have some sense or some understanding, but it is not deep understand. So just like when you see the video clip at the beginnings of the forest law, you see, okay, it's lost, and then what, right? So if we take them into the realities, talk to the villagers, even in short talking, they may have better understanding. And then, okay, we do the survey, and after that, we have the discussions. Okay, we prepare the workshop. So we assign that 12 students to play the role of facilitators. And some of them do the direct facilitation, some of them do the role of observers or take the photos. So by doing this, they can learn so many things, okay, in 1 or 2 workshops, in 1 or 2 days. And then we also involve them in the in-depth interviews after the field workshop, okay, just to get more information from the players. So again, by doing this, they can better understand the farmer feelings. Okay, and then we also have the debriefing session for the students. Okay, we have the debriefing session for the players, but here we do need the debriefing session for the students. So what do they learn? Try to reflect. Okay, so every night, so during the field work, they have to come and do the brainstorming. Okay, so we go to base around midnight every day. They just exchange what they learn. Okay, how to improve the games or what they get. Okay, so from that one, we can assign the student. We have the assignment sheet for our registered student. So then they can share their ideas. And from that comments, so from farmers and from the student, we can improve the models. Okay, so here you can see, I call it 1.1 because we have the same root of the models. Okay, not a big change. Here, the student comment that why not, we integrate the spatial representation into the game board. And the first version of the game board is a little bit small when we play with 4 or 5 farmers. Okay, so we want to make it a little bit bigger. So then we integrate the spatial representation into the game board. Okay, and again, we still use the handwriting. We don't invest in the printing shops. So very save, money saving. Okay, and try to put the card for easier to use. And okay, when we adjust the game, we use it in the field workshops. But here, move to the second workshop for the different times. So we invite new students, and some of them volunteer to do the jobs. If they want to learn, or I don't know, maybe they want to travel. So we invite the new students so they can learn how to facilitate the games. But we don't improve this version anymore. So as we already conduct with 7 villages. So from these versions, and we play with more than 250 farmers. So they start understand the interactions or the effect of the environmental problems. So they request, to discuss about the management action plans. So in terms of research, so we start modify our games and change our objective. So from share understandings to the management planning. Okay, so we modify the conceptual models, we create the new versions. And in this version, so we enlarge the spatial representation. and it has become more reality. So if you remember at the beginning, it's very abstract. Just we have irrigation canals at the middle, and then on the left and the right hand side we have farming areas. And here the people have better understand the situation, so they want the concrete action, so where they can manage what kind of problems that occurs in their own territories. So in the red square, this represents the environmental problems. So we change the tokens. Okay, so anyway, so by doing this, they can the farmers, they get the management plan. We invite the local administrators to join the second workshop, the third workshop. This is the new one. And again, by doing this, we have the new groups of students come and learn together, so they can observe, and learn from the local peoples. Okay, so from this case studies, so we end with version 2. But my PhD master student, so he want to test the games if it's possible to use in the other part of Thailand. So we move from the south to the north eastern, to the Sisakhet province. So he go to the former school, and use the game with the student. But here they still use 1.1, they don't use 1.2, 2.2. Sorry, this one, version 2. Okay, come back to the version 1 because the Sisakhet area, they may have the same situations than the south. Okay, so they want to check if it's feasible to use or what's thing that they need to improve. Okay, so you can see that from this process, so we can integrate with one course. Okay, and we have the tools that we can use with the other students. The second case, this is about the research to teaching activities. But in this case, we have the problems between park managers and villagers. So in these pictures, you can see 860 hectares of the agricultural area is increased. It's very rapid. Okay, and then we have the national park establishment. So, and as usual, there are many similar problems. So the national park come after the settlement of the villagers. So they have the conflict between land use. And in this area, it has the poor soil qualities. And the farmers have low formal educations because they use chemical fertilizers in inappropriate way. So this case is started by PhD students. So as I already mentioned, she interested, she worked with their friends and come to see me to discuss about how to work in these areas. Okay, so she started collect the data and identify the problems. So she found that it has the tensions between park managers, forest rangers, and local villagers. And yeah, as I already mentioned again, they have very low formal education. So when the parks try to implement the laws, so they arrest the farmers or they fine some money. So they're poor, so they have no money to pay. So how do they do? Okay, so we start again, analyze the systems. Okay. So at the beginning, so we thought that people may need to learn about the different factors affecting their farming activity. So it is not just the conflict between the park managers, but they also have the water shortage from the climate change. So in some months, it's a very heavy rains or the increasing of the populations in the village. And at that time, this also have the Asian economics communities opening. So many crops, the production from China come to Thailand. So the crop price is decreased or sometimes is unstable. And so we try to create the games and use with the people to let them learn about that uncertainties. Okay, so we create the first prototype. We have only limited crops the cassava, the rice, and the sugar canes. Okay, so from that first version, so we use it with the local people, okay, in this kind of process. So I don't go in details. But anyway, the important thing is that we have the role of forester. So we invite the village headsman to play the role of forester, and they draw the chant cast, to raise the farmers. So if that farmers encroach to the forest area, so you can see in the box. Yeah. So outside the yellow areas. So they may jails or fines. So at the end, we do the debriefing sessions with the local people, and many of them get in debt. They cannot survive, no money. So at the end, they have the collective ideas saying that, okay, without park managers, they also have some difficulties to continue the activities. So they need to find a way to improve the situations. So they are looking at soil quality conservation, soil conservation or soil quality improvements, but they have no ideas on how to do it as they have low formal educations. Okay, so we try to analyze to let them talk little by little, identify, make mind maps. Okay, and then we create new versions of the games. Okay, as the first one, the people learn already that they have very much difficulties to continue the work. And now we want to focus on the soil quality improvements. Okay, so from cropping games, we change it to soil quality testing. Because when we interview more people, we found that they never know how to check the soil quality before growing. Okay, so we start create that games again. So we modify. You can see that the conceptual model is changed. The first one is very messy, and then we just reduce the conceptual versions. And okay, we just create simple games. Again, we using the bead, the different color, green one, yellow one, orange one, purple one. So represent nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and lime. Okay, and we mix it to create the different formulas of fertilizer, 15, 15, 15, and the common formulas. And we have the box, for the soil separation. So this is for the people, for the farmers to analyze their soil. Okay, we also have the different levels of soils, acidic soils, normal soils, and the base one. And in the games, in the second version, here we use only cassava because we just want them to learn on the soil quality improvement. So we select only one crop. Okay, and they do this kind of process. Okay, they select, they know the crop that they grow. So they just buy the fertilizer. So normally they buy it as usual. They spend a lot of money, so they have to record how much they pay. So at the end, we ask them to check, if it meets the requirement of the cassava or not. If it meets the requirement, they get 7,000 baht. If there are some nutrient missing, they just get half of the product. So we use very, very simple rule. So we do it like this until everyone, every players have understand, this understand the importance of soil analysis. So year after year, they may have some fertilizers in their house. They can reuse it, something like that. So in the debriefing sessions, so we discuss about the importance of soil quality testings. We discussed about appropriate use of fertilizers. So we also invite the agricultural extensionists. So it's located just 5-6 kilometers far from the village. But at this village located in the national park, so they are not well communicated. So we invite that guys to join the workshop. So they prepare the brochure to collect the soil. So we distribute it. So by doing this kind of workshop, so we make the local people connect to the agricultural extensionists so they can continue by themselves. So in the student side, so from that simple game version, so we use it in the class. Again, consecutive years of PNRM, the Principle on Natural Resource Management. So the student can learn how to grow the crops. So we also use the same strategy. So we assign the student to improve the game. So we come up with version 1.2, so more crops to be grown. So we use it in the with new groups of students. So I use it in Nan province, northern Thailand, also in Ratchaburi province in the central part of Thailand. And by this time, you see that we have the new people come and lead the games. So you can see that this is an evolving process, from the Ph.D. student. So we start having the new student, the successor. So from that game, the simple game, again, we can use in diverse situations. Okay, in the third case, we have the green roof. This one is moved to start from teaching to the research. So this one we start from bachelor students, so group of student interest. So they learn from ecology class about ecosystem service, but it's very difficult to understand. So they want to create the games, okay, and use with the people. And in Bangkok, you can see we have very limited green areas per capita. Okay, and by government policies, we try to increase it. Okay, but if we want to increase the green area without understanding how important of it, so it's very difficult to success. Okay, so this group of students, okay, interest to work on that. Okay, so they start doing the data research because we have no choice to go to the field. Okay, so they just collect the information from the internet, okay, and consult with me, and then we start working on the first prototype. So at the first versions, they agree to create 2 dimensions, and they thought that it's easier for user to share, to discuss, move, and design the roof. So we use it in Chula Expo, okay, during 2 weeks in March 2017. So with around 300 participants. So you can see that we have groups. We play like a pair. When the visitors come, we separate them into 2 subgroups. So they compete with each other. So then they compare the roofs that they design. So we play the 2 scenarios. So the first one is no communications between 2 subgroups. And the other scenarios, we allow 2 subgroups to discuss and decide together. So by doing this, they can improve their understanding. So we use pre and post test to assess their understanding of ecosystem services. And again, this game is really long time to use. So during the first phase, the first week, so we have times to improve based on the comment from players. So they comment that they need more plants, and they may they found some animals exist in the green roof. So why not in our games? And we should have some animals. So our students improve the games, see, and then make the slightly change and use it again. And at the same time, we create the Excel sheet to compare the different score of the ecosystem service. Okay, by looking at these indicators, that the players can learn, how to better design the routes. Okay, anyway, so from that 3D versions, we found that at the end of the work, it's very difficult to keep. So the group of students interest to modify their 3D versions to the 2D versions, and they change a lot of components, okay, by increase the type of plants, okay, and a lot of objects. Okay, so from this 2D, when we check, we calibrate it. So I use it in the ecology labs, okay, and man and environment class. But this game is continue improving by Ph.D. students. So we use the same idea, with and without communications. So in the normal class, so we have the labs and separate the students. So at the end, we can check based on their own understandings, they may have some ideas. And then with co-designs or how to make it higher score. So they have a lot of diversities and beautiful ones. So using these 2D versions in the teaching, see, this is the kind of applications that we can use. And the last one, the same structures, it is start from the students and we use it for the research. So we use the green loop board games as a case study. So as I mentioned to you that some students have no backgrounds how to create the games. So I just demonstrate by using these case studies. And we also provide them one-page proposal diagrams. So let them learn how to create the projects. So we use this in the project based into general education course, man and environments, and multidisciplinary study for rural development. It's quite long names. So we call it in short multi-rurals. So in man and environments, it is a project based inside the Bangkok. But for multi-rurals, they have the real projects. They have 5-day field studies. So but just the one that I want to share with you is that, so the students have no background at the beginning, so they do the same, collect the information from the internet. But in some course, they have opportunity to go to the fields. So they start design their own versions and use it. So within 3 or 4 days in the fields, or 4 or 5 weeks in Bangkok, so they can create these simple games. So this Grenoble is belong to Bachelor of Accountancy student. And so they look at the beautiful one. But this one for the rural development, they have a very limited resource. They just buy the ready use the Millionaire games. So this one I just select the Millionaire game base to share with you that you can have the diversity of applications. So they can use with the local peoples. And then, we also provide them the format, the article format. So we don't ask them to write the normal report, but we try to teach them how to prepare the article-based report. So here, this is what I call it teaching to the research. So we prepare the student to be able to write the manuscript, when they finish the class. So from that 4 case studies, you can see that we have a lot of applications. Some case you can use it for academic service, like the one that we use with the student in Sathing province. And here we can fulfill the other tasks. And also quality testing that we use in the other province. And we also able to use as the learning tool in our normal course. And for the sustainable development goals, if we look, we can assign the student to think about it. We give them the charts or the indicators, and then let them reflect how their games help to support SDG. So this kind of list come from the student point of view. So then some is wrong, some is right, so they can learn more. But anyway, most of the cases deal with the education, sustainable cities, and communities, life on land, life below waters. And yes, by learning by doing process, the student can achieve the top of the pyramid. And also they have the self-esteem improvements because they are so proud in their games. When they see the game is useful, their game is useful, so they really happy that their game can support the other people and they can use in the other class. At the same time, they work together, so they share their experience with their friends, so they have more confidence. So in terms of skill, the same. When they work together at the project base, a lot of skills emerge. So in our case, we use only 2D or very simple board games. So we don't talking about simulation. So the programming and technology so we not count here. Okay, but you can see that by doing the group projects, they can get a lot of skills. Okay? And for the local people, yes, when we implement the workshops, we have adaptive capacities. Okay, and in this VUCA world, especially in the case in the northeastern part, they have a lot of factors influence their livelihood. So we use the game with them so they can improve their adaptive capacities. So in terms of ourselves as instructors, so we can get a lot of publications. So for the Sathing program, I have 4 publications. So for croppings and soil qualities, we have 3 publications. So some of them is in Thai, some of them is in English. We have senior projects, the projects for the graduations or bachelor students, some book chapters, okay, some in high quality journals. Okay, so let me conclude that the gaming and simulations is not difficult to use for teaching to research or research to teaching. Okay, and a lot of experience come from learning by doing. Okay, and then they can support the sustainable development of the local people, okay, by using games to explore the different scenarios and share their own knowledge, and also increase adaptive capacities. One thing to remind at the end, the coaching is a time-consuming activities. But if we want the student to be able to create the games, we need to spend time with them. Okay. But anyway, we get the benefit at the end. And advanced course, like an online course for the game design or the computer versions. So it's important for the lifelong learning of the people or of the students. And here, just to share with you that we also have the international projects about the role of wetland in water securities. This project is done by 4 countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. So we plan to have the new games about the water ecosystem service. Okay, so if you are interested, we can share together. Okay, and now we are in the data collection steps. Okay, the game is coming soon. Okay, and this is the list of the activities that I show or share with you. Okay, thank you very much for the listens, okay, for your participation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. Is there any questions among us? Please, I request all panel members and participants to please ask any questions if you have. So one question is there, how many teachers have been involved? Are there differences in their responses to the degree of freedom this gives students?
The case that I, thank you for the questions. So the case that I share with you, most of the case is done by myself, so only me. But in the Sathing case, so we have another lecturer. So her role is to fill up the academic knowledge. So when the students go to the fields and then they find some interesting questions, and so she support that like a theoretical knowledge. But for the gaming activities, because I am the one who look after the students, I mean the group that work on the game, so I help them to complete the task.
Okay. Thank you, sir. With the shortage of time, we cannot take much questions, and we will send questions to you later. Now, I request founder of Pentis, Dr. Vinod Damlekar, sir, to propose words of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rupali. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Pongchai, thank you for a very colorful session. For us on this side, when you look at what you presented, the games appear very simple and easy to design and develop. But I can imagine the amount of research that must have gone behind it to collect data, then put it together, and then determine how to present what to whom. That's a lot of phenomenal work in an area which is not very common. Congratulations from our side, and thank you very much for having been here today. A lot of ISAGA members are also listening to you, as also a number of teachers and faculty members and administrators from Sri Vaishnava University, which is hosting the ISAGA 2021 conference. For listeners, I hope you join us for future webinars as well. We have only 6 more to go. We are almost at the fag end of the webinar season. And I don't know, when we started this 22 webinars back, we didn't know where we would end up. It's sad that we're about to come to an end. But whatever it is, to all of you who have made this webinar series successful like this, thank you very much. We had speakers here like Dr. Sharma in the audience who has spoken here before. All of you have made this work very handy. And this is a prelude to our BEC conference in September. All of you must attend to it as contributors, as visitors. Whatever we can do, you can do it. It's online, so your effort is much less than a real travel. I hope to see you all there, at least online. Good to see ISAGA members like Elena, Toshiko, regulars like and others. There must be many here whom I can't name. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thanks, Vinod. Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I request all the participants to please fill the feedback form as mentioned in the chat box for getting e-certificates. I thanks to all panel members, Vice Chancellor of University, our speaker especially, and thank you everyone for being with us for the webinar. So see you soon for the next webinar. Till then, take care and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Pongchai.
Meeting again next Saturday.
We'll see all of you next Saturday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Parvesh sir?
Sir.
Sir, end the session.